everyone, and welcome back to Miranda Pitrone Art. I have missed you all bunches, and I hope you are having a good start to our new year. I have a super fun project to do today. We're going to paint on a hexagon wood tile. So if you go into my shop, mirandapitroneart.com, and then just go to shop, you'll find these under wood section. They are just a hexagon shape. I do have more than one. I will restock. But this is what I did the holly on a couple Christmases ago. It's just a fun little shape. And that's what we're going to use today. Alright, so in the interest of saving time, I'm just going to explain. I painted my hexagon black with just a matte black from Decoart, and then I took a ruler and I drew lines to intersect in the middle so I could find my center. Once I found my center, I used a compass, and then I drew myself a circle about the size that I wanted this center to be. Now this center is a different kind of paint. It is a petroleum-based paint from Prisme, and I just pour it in the center. So this one is the antique gold, and I just poured it in the center until I reached about the size of the circle that I had created, and I was happy with the shape of it. So you do have to lay it on a flat surface though, otherwise you'll get a misshapen circle or a different shape. There are also products out there that you can use like a tube and make a guide so that it kind of makes a well with a border so you can block the paint from going anywhere. Decoart has the writers, Prisme has a product that does that as well, and it has left my brain for the minute what it's called, but they will stop it. It gives it some relief so it's up a little bit with a border. Alright, so with all that in mind, we are going to start our design today. Alright, so this is going to be a multi-tool mandala, so I'll just be grabbing different tools to show you and different paints. So I'm going to start off with Snow White from Decoart and a small dotting stylus. I bend these myself. I do have a video on how to do that, or I do sell them in the shop too if you're not looking to try it yourself. But it is just one of the smallest ones. I'm going to dip it in the white, and on each of the lines that I drew for intersection lines, I'm just going to do a swipe just about as far as the tool will let me. So it looks to be about a ½ inch. So the dotting tools will do swipes as well, or swooshes or dot drags. A lot of people are calling them different things these days. And this is just kind of to help us have a guide for our design, starting off with our 6 here. Okay, so next up I'm going to use this silicone oval dotter and Extreme Sheen Aqua Marine. Super pretty. Alright, so we just dip that flat, and with the Extreme Sheens you just kind of have to make sure that it's not dripping. Sometimes they are a little different viscosity, and just make sure the tool is flat like this, and you get your oval dot. And then just sometimes there's a little string that comes up, just let that string drop before you pull your tool away, otherwise it will require erasing. Alright, so I think what I want to do too is we're going to do the teardrop shapes with these. So I'm going to use my etcher tool here, and I'm just going to drag it down into a teardrop shape. We're doing that on either side of the white lines that we just put, the white swipe. I'm just dragging a little bit of the paint from our dot down towards the gold. And we'll do that all the way around each of the white ones. So this is a fun way too. You can see it creates the oval dots if you just wanted to leave them like that. So I usually pull the center down first, and then that just gives me a guide. So you pull the center part here, and then it just kind of gives you a guide to pull the rest of the teardrop shape down. And then you can kind of keep a more uniform shape that way. Some paints too may not have as nice a coverage, and you may have to just come back and dot it again and add more paint to the upper part, and then you'll be able to drag them down. Or if you drag them down and it looks thinner, then you can just add to it from there too. But I'm really loading up this tool so that it is full of paint. Also make sure they're shaken well. Sometimes these kind separate just a little bit. Such a great color, this aquamarine. Alright, so in the interest of preserving my space here, I'm going to sketch out this next element. We're going to do some S-curls. Some people call them scrolls. I don't know. There's probably names for all these things, but So it's just kind of like a decorative cursive S. So I start at the top and I use my etcher. I'm just using the gold side because it scratches on the black paint nicely. And I'm going almost all the way to the hexagon edge here. And just to give you an idea of size, I don't know if you guys know this, but from our tip of our thumb to our knuckles, about an inch. So a lot of times I use my body for sizing. So it's about an inch. Actually, it's almost exactly the length of my thumb. So just about an inch. And you'll see too, as you get looking around, if you're just starting, there are a bunch of people selling stencils, so you can find stencils if you want to do design elements and you don't feel like drawing them is your thing. But I encourage you just to try. You really don't need every little tool and every little stencil and every little thing, although I do understand the crafting addiction. I had to ban myself from the Dollar Tree after the holidays. They had so many cute little wood shapes, and they have a whole new craft section. And this way too, just kind of etching it on there gives you an idea of making sure they're all about the same size and what your design's going to look like as you paint it. And that way too, if you don't like it, the thing about this is you don't have to erase it with a pencil or something. You just take a little bit of water and then you just dab it on, and either your finger or a wipe, anything, and once it dries, the lines will be gone. And a lot of times too, you paint over it, because I'm going to follow this guideline to paint on, and once I varnish it, the lines disappear too. So I don't have to worry about these ones. Won't, because I drew those in pencil. I'll have to erase them if they're showing still. But okay, so now I'm going to use my paintbrush, the angle spot detailer, and I'm gonna grab some jungle green, and this one is in the multi-surface line. Alright, so I like to start in the middle of this S curl, so it has the larger dots here, and then as I work my way out, I press lighter, just lighten up on the pressure, and you'll get smaller dots. And if you're using a dotting tool, the paint will start to run out off your tool anyway, just like walking the dots, and you'll get smaller dots as you work your way towards the outer edge. So for those of you who don't normally use a brush, using the brush, you just have to like push down a little bit, and I just kind of wiggle it around into a circle, for lack of a better technical term. With the dotting tools, depending on which ones you're using, you may have to re-dip to dot some more. I'm not sure, depending on the paint, depending on how much you load your tool with. That will depend on how far it will go around the design. But with the paintbrush, you just pretty much can go almost the whole way. And there's our first S. Sometimes with things like this too, it's easier to do the larger elements and then fill in the smaller aspects, because the larger elements give you that guideline. Well, since it's been a little bit since I've been on here, how are you guys doing? Leave me some comments. Let me know where you're from. Plus, that also helps in the YouTube algorithm for the videos to pop up next time, or for other people to see them. Just generating activity. Anybody make any major moves this year? There's a lot of homes selling where I live. So we're gonna do this all the way around. Again, it's the jungle green, and you can see it, I'm probably not on the video, but there's a little more of a shine to this paint because it's one of the multi-surface satin ones. And these kind you can use on ceramics, glass, and they'll cure. They'll air cure too. I think it's after a week. But you can also bake them in the oven and then they'll be dishwasher safe. So for those of you who do not feel like you need to go through every little bit of this, feel free to fast forward through the rest of this S work. And for those of you dotting with me, it's nice to be here with you. Again, as I go around, I'm just letting up on the paintbrush a little bit to get the smaller dots. So push down a little harder in the center. And dotting with these brushes too, you don't have to push really hard because that can ruin the bristles. You know, a couple people have said that they don't have a nice point anymore, but you can also reshape your brushes. There are lots of videos out there where I just boil my bristles and then I run it along soap and let them harden for a while, then wash them off. Usually they reshape pretty nicely. And I know I'm going off the line of this one, but I didn't really feel like the shape was as good as the other ones. So there we have our S's. Okay, next I'm going to grab Vanilla Shake and the etcher tool. Alright, now at the top of each of these aquamarines, I'm going to start in the center of it and just drag that point down in between the two. I like to just go the same direction too, so I'm going to move on to the next one and drag it right down in between. If you want a little bit more of a point on the tail of your swoosh, swipe. You can always use the pointy end here, the metallic end, and just kind of grab that last bit of the paint and pull it down in. So you can see it makes it a little bit thinner. You will start to run out of paint too with these, so your tail will get smaller automatically, but like I said, if you want it thinner, you can just use the metal end. And I'm just following the arc of the oval dots that we put down. So you're just kind of using those as your guide. And so this way's a little bit more difficult for me, so I do it in front of me so it's closer and I can see. So at the center here, and we're going to pull it in to meet that other one. Sometimes you have to wipe the tool off a little bit as well because the paint will start to build up and your swipes will start to get thicker. So see that one, the paint dried a little bit. So you could just grab it from the other end after you make a dot. This little turntable is one of the best things that anyone ever got for me. A friend of mine got me a square one that she decorates cupcakes and stuff on, and I thought it was so great. I went searching on Amazon and I found this round one, which I feel like it works a little better for the items that I'm working on. So this paint had a little chunk in it, so I'm just kind of fixing it so you can't see there. Okay, so if you don't have one of the edger tools, you can also do this with a dotting tool. I switched colors now to Cobblestone. And I'm going to follow right above the other swipe. And so that one's a little smaller than I want it, so I'm going to switch to the other end. Let's see, it's just trial and error to see. You could always try on a piece of paper on the side too to see what size you want. And again, just do whatever is comfortable for you, obviously. So I'm going to switch it up to go in front of myself here. Okay, now I put too much paint down there, so I'm going to switch to the small end. It's just a little trick, and just grab it and drag it out that way. But you'll start to get a feel for how to do things like that the more you do this, and what size you're looking for, how much paint to load on the tool. But again, as I always say, you guys, it does not have to be perfect. This is art. You're supposed to just enjoy creating. Okay, this next color is Champagne. And this one's a little stringier. It's one of the matte metallics. Kind of like the extreme sheens do. You can see that string. But it's one of those, just take your time and you'll be able to push it where it needs to go. Might have left this one open a little bit too long too. It is a little tackier. The shine is amazing, isn't it, on these? Oh, I love them. For those of you who are new to my channel, I often have to refrain from using all the metallics. They are so gorgeous. How are you guys feeling about this design? Coming out okay? Alright, so I now am going to grab this Peridot and we're going to use that oval tool again. And this time we're just going to dip it and do one right at the top of our little swipes that we were working on there. Just at the point of the hexagon. And then we're going to pull that down into the champagne. And don't stick your finger in it, like I just did. So sometimes on these pieces of wood, it'll start to soak up the paint a little more than you want it to. So what you can do is seal the wood first and then paint on it as well. I will say though, if you do that, you can't do the etcher. So if you seal it over the black paint, the etcher won't work. You'll have to find some other way to draw your guidelines, and some people use chalk pencils, which seem to work. I have not tried them yet. You see how nice this Peridot goes with the aquamarine too. So you could even use this and do all silvers and whites, kind of like a winter scene. I was kind of craving spring though. I needed some greens. Greens and blues. There. Okay, next I'm going to grab the Matcha green. This was from 2020. I think they're still making it. Pretty sure. I'll try to leave links in the description for all the paint colors I used. And we'll grab the edger. Let's see. Let me go in front of me here. And we're just gonna start at the side down about just one dot's length probably. I'll dip it again here. We're just gonna follow down along our Peridot. And really all the things that people say, swipe, swoosh, I know I say this before, but it sounds fast. Just take your time and then you can get the paint directed the way you want it to go for your swipe. So just drag it out slowly and it'll kind of wick its way along. Plus it keeps that kind of stringy paint attached to the wood. And you can guide it where you want it to go that way easier. Just taking your time. I know too, all the Instagram videos that we can only do for a minute, it makes it look fast as well. So I'm just kind of etching it down in here to get that good shaped dot going, and then I just pull it out with the tail. Depending on the viscosity of your paint too, this one seems a little thinner. My studio is in my basement at the moment, so the paints get chilly and warm up when I turn on the heater, so who knows, sometimes they just behave how they want. That does just kind of become a part of going with the flow of it though. Alright, so both sides swipes down of the Matcha green. And now I think I'm going to grab a brighter green. Should we go with Festive or bright green? They're both pretty great colors. I think I'm going to go with the Festive green just because it's a little bit darker. Festive green. Alright, so this time with the Festive green, I'm going to dot with the gold end, but then I'm going to take the tail and use the metal end, and I'm just going to kind of grab, how do I explain this? One side of the dot here, and bring it down so that you kind of get a different shape here. Oh, there was a gloop in the paint, so let's try that again. So a dot right here. And then I'm going to grab this side of the dot just to get a different shape. Kind of like when I did the one that has the ones that look like musical notes. So you can see the difference in that to that. You're just kind of making a dot. And because this is on the other side, we're going to grab the other side of the dot with the metal part and just kind of bring it up and down and around. Let's see, it makes a different swipe shape, a little more decorative. And these are on the ends. I'm not going to do anything else right here, so it kind of terminates that element a little bit. Dot and a dot. Grab the inner part and just drag it out and around. One thing about this too, I just want to encourage you all that when you have a background paint down, it does make it easier to fix things that you don't want to keep. So like that one that the tail didn't work on over there, I'll probably just paint it over with black again and redo it so it matches all the others. But that also should give you confidence in just kind of trying new things because it can be fixed. On the other hand, it is art, and we're not machines doing this. You could just enjoy the process, leave it as is. I think I told a story recently about another cultures. Sometimes they purposefully put a mistake in the thing, in the painting, just to show that they're not perfect. Alright, so this, all we have to do is just take a little paintbrush and grab whatever your background color is. So in this case I use the black, the lamp black. I'm just using a small brush. You can also use the silicone tools to kind of scrape it up while it's wet, any of the damp extra paint. In the interest of time, I'm not doing that today. I'm just painting it over because it's dried a little now that I worked my way around. And while I have the black out, I know there's a couple spots I saw as I was working my way around. I'll just cover those up. Just kind of blend out the edge so you don't have a big pile of paint there, and let it dry. Alright, because I like this Peridot so much, remember the shiny green, I'm gonna add it in some more here. I got myself thinking about that musical note one now, so I'm gonna take the etcher, and what we're going to do is, I guess, in here, I'm gonna do like an apostrophe. So make a dot. And then we'll just drag out one side. Doing that for your designs too, if you start bringing, other than just keep switching colors, bringing colors you've already used helps with the design as well. I think it just helps the colors and the palette, it just brings it a little more cohesion. Okay, so I'm going to come back in there and fix that other little guy there. Now that the black is dry, and basically before I forget, okay, so I'm just kind of debating. I want this to be pretty whimsical so that we have negative space and not too much density of the items and the paint, so that you can kind of have a bit of space in between to enjoy, but also not too much space so that it looks unfinished. Does that make sense? Okay, I think I'm going to grab that champagne gold again. On the other side of our S here. I'm going to use a larger dotting tool just because it can get a little bit more paint than the etcher tool. Pick it up. So if you have the set, you can grab the green one. It has the largest, or I have the blue one. Either one. Make this one a little bit bigger and a little bit, I want the tail to go that way or this way. I think the tail will go this way, so I'm going to make the dot closer to the S like that, and then grab our edger. Yeah, that came out fun. Okay. So closer to the top part of the S. And I'm going to double dip because I didn't have enough paint. This is what I talked about stirring it better earlier, so that I'm just going to bring it down and give it a little flick at the end to curl it sort of around that. One thing I should mention as well, sometimes your sizing gets off, so you want to, if you're going to put something here, make sure it's going to fit on all the spots around before you do it, because sometimes I'll get in there and go, oh, I don't have enough space to do that element on each of those, and that can be frustrating. So to spare yourself, just do a quick double check around to make sure they'll all fit. See, that pointed end is good for popping bubbles in the paint too. So if you like to do the fluid art at all, sometimes you get bubbles, or even in the varnish or resin, sometimes there's bubbles in the top sealer coat. So this is good for that, popping the bubbles. And you can kind of see too, bringing the champagne, then it kind of gives that spread of the colors that you're using. So I am going to go back and grab some of that matcha green again, just to tie that in a little more as well, down at the base of each of these to bring the green throughout the piece. Just going to put a little dot of that matcha. We're going to do one on either side here. Et voila. Okay, so and I also sometimes will take a picture of each piece. I can see it on the screen right now, but taking a picture of it, you see it differently as well. So this space right in here is kind of asking for something as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to take the aquamarine again, and I think we'll just do another fun little apostrophe guy in here. Be the opposite direction of the Peridot. And again, make sure each place you have enough to kind of do the idea that you want. So I'm going to put it a little bit over to the left, because I want the tail to come down this way, sort of opposite that Peridot, into the space here. But almost right next to our festive green there, this little thing here. I really have an affinity for the asymmetrical designs as well. I know mandalas can be so fun and you do the same all the way out and the symmetry is amazing, but sometimes I just like to change it up a little bit and add a little flair. Bubble in that guy. There we go. Now I just kind of want to give it a once over. So I think I want to be done. But if you guys wanted to go further, some people like a more intricate design, you could top dot on these, add a different color. There's so many things you can do with each design to make it your own. So change the colors of the whole scheme altogether. But I think I'm going to leave it at this because I'm quite happy with this little design. And then I have little hangers that I put on the back, or magnets even. I mean, this is not that large. I think it's a 6-inch size. So a nice piece of art on a refrigerator or a cubicle. There's all sorts of things you could do. Or paint a bunch of these and put them together as one big design. I've got plans for those too. So I hope you guys enjoy doing this with me. It is so good to be back with you all, and if you could just leave a hello in the comments, I would greatly appreciate it. I will post all that I can for links in the description to help out with varnish ideas and the paint colors that were used, and just to give you guys some direction in where to find these items and the tools. Alright, I hope you are all doing awesome, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Have a great day.